team. Today and this session, we'll be talking about the Myanmar crisis, which should be prioritized by the members of the G20. That our neighboring country, India, will be hosting the G20 developed countries meeting on the 23rd, in the 9th of September. And the National Unity Government also is working hard on promoting international diplomacy and relations to be able to achieve effective support from the international community for the Spring Revolution. Yet, Myanmar neighboring country, India, although it is a democratic country, it is supporting the military junta. So what will be the specific points or the special outcomes of the G20 summit meeting that will be held in India this year? And that what about the G20 member state, and that to what extent should they give attention to Myanmar crisis, and also what the Myanmar revolutionary forces should do in order to get more attention from the international community, what needs to be prepared, what we should be doing. This is what we'll be discussing under this topic of Myanmar crisis to be considered as important by the G20 members, and that so we will be discussing this. We have participants that David Gao, Deputy Minister from the Ministry of International Cooperation, and then we have Nyein, co-founder of German Solidarity Myanmar Democracy, as Salai Dokhar, founder of India for Myanmar, as well as guest speaker. We also have Nant, Pham, program director of Burma Campaign UK, will be participating as well. And my name is Nyein, and I'll be moderator and from the People's Code team. So we also like to remind our audience that you can choose the webinar link to join us Zoom and participate in the discussion too. First, I would like to invite our speakers to introduce themselves. Firstly, I would like to invite David Guang, Deputy Minister of the Ministry of International Cooperation from the National Unity Government. Sia, can you introduce yourself? Can you introduce yourself, as well as can you give us a brief overview on what you are working on right now? Okay, so I would like to say thank you to that. I would also like to say thank you to Salai Dokhar, and as well as the Nyein, co-founder of German Solidarity Myanmar Democracy. And I would also like to say thank you from the People's Good team and organizers. And I would like to wish a good evening to all of you. That I'm also honored to have this opportunity to be able to discuss and participate in discussion along with other comrades for this revolution. I'm now serving as a Deputy Minister for Ministry of International Cooperation of the National Unity Government. Our ministry engage with the international community in the international arena. We also rally for support, as well as on the assistance for our people as well, to get political legitimacy and recognition, and also to get important assistance aid through the multilateral collaboration. So this is what we work on, to be able to get more support, more to actually have a flow of assistance. This is something we work in the front lines to engage with the international community for further cooperation. So this is, I'm just giving you a summary of our ministry work. Today's topic is actually right on time, I would say, because very soon there will be G20 summit hosted by India in the region from a neighboring country, which is right next door to us. India, although it is right next door to us, the Indian leadership have always has not been, that not be working on it. So it is important to talk about the issue with the India and hosting the G20 right now. I think it is important to have the discussion from other participants who are working hard on the Myanmar issue as well. I think it will be a great discussion, and that discussion something will be useful for our people also to learn from them as well. So I would like to say that it's the right time. It will be a right interesting topic with the participants, the speakers you are invited. It will be a great learning opportunity for all of us. Thank you for the introduction. Next, I would like to invite Nyein, co-founder of German Solidarity with Myanmar Democracy. Good evening to you. Good evening, my name is Nyein. Can you say a few words about yourself? Yes, today. So we'll be talking about that that Myanmar importance, broader consideration that G20 member states should give to Myanmar crisis. So thank you for inviting me to participate as a speaker. I would say thank you to organizer. I also like to extend my greetings to other speakers of today's talk show. David Guaang, the Minister of Ministry of International Cooperation, as well as Salai, founder of India Myanmar. I'm glad and honored to be part of the talk show as well. So our German Solidarity with Myanmar Democracy is a German-based organization, and we work on the Myanmar crisis. We engage with the German Parliament, as well as the German Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as well as the German government, European Parliament, as well as the European Commission. So these are the international. We do advocacy. When we say advocacy, we also give them briefings on what is happening in Myanmar, as well as on what these international platforms can do to provide effective assistance to the people of Myanmar. So we do information sharing and advocacy as part of our work. And what we also do is occasionally we organize demonstrations and rallies, and we also participate and contribute in campaigns such as signature campaigns and petitions. So these are some of our activities. Thank you. Thank you, Siama, for your introduction. Now, I would like to invite our next speaker, Salai Dokhar, founder of India for Myanmar. Please introduce yourself. Thank you. Good evening to all of you, and I'm honored to have this opportunity to meet all of you through this talk show, to the speaker, to the guest speaker, as well as on that to the organizer, People's School team, as well as I'm very honored to have this opportunity to participate and share perspectives on an important topic like today's topic. And also, we also like to say all the people who are participating and contributing to this revolution in different ways that they can. And thank you for watching us on the live stream where our discussion points might not be comprehensive, but we'll be sharing from for our life experience, and we also have the Minister of the National Unity Government. So I think it is also important to share our voices and share what you're discussing to the others. Well, my name is Salai Dokhar. I'm a founder of India for Myanmar as well. I'm working with India for Myanmar and with our partner organization, PCS. Very soon, we will also be before the G20 summit in India, we'll also be doing advocacy to the India government about we also will be issuing a report based on our observations of the India government's engagement with the military junta as well. That report will also be we are also representing this report to the Democratic forces, and we'll also be posting it on the social media so that general public can also learn about what India's been doing as well. This is something we are currently working hard on, and that our findings will also be sent to the different decision makers about the situation as well. We are also right now we are still looking into channels to submit our report to the decision maker. So I would just like to reiterate, I'm very pleased to be here with you, and thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself. Thank you, Sia, for introducing yourself. Now that the speakers have introduced themselves, would like to start with the talk show. As for the first round, I would like to invite Sia Debiguan. What I would like to ask you is that what is G20? Why is G20 important? And for your Ministry of International Cooperation, how do you see the role of G20? So I'd like to say thank you to the people who are joining us the live stream, and that who will be watching this video. I hope that this will be useful for you. I would like to share some basic information. What is the G20? Some of people will know about it already, but some might not. So what is G20? G20 was first established in 1997 when we have economic crisis and then a lot of financial crisis. A lot of people had a difficulty. A lot of companies go into bankruptcy. All this society, the economics, the society as well, economy and the society was at the brink of collapse. It was then that so right now that when you have the International Monetary Fund or the international institutions, I want to say that there were many challenges and then there were a lot of implications that it is important to overcome them. So what happened based on the financial crisis of 1988, United States, the first meeting was first ever meeting was organized in 1988, where you have the government of state, the finance ministers or the foreign minister and the high-ranking officials participate as well. And then that was the first gathering of the G20, so to speak. And by 99 December, as the result of this gathering and the meeting, so G20 was established. That who is in the G20, and that if we look at it right now, that in the G20 we have the industrial developed countries, and we call it as well as we call it that these countries are what we call the developed countries, the 19 countries plus, so there are altogether such 19 countries, and the European Union altogether become the group of G20. So that then I will not be because of the 19, I will not go with the list as well, but we know that. So we have the industrially developed countries as well as European Union, and that why do we need to understand G20? Why is the G20 important? G20 is a 1/3 of the world population. And that is 1/3, 30% of the world population is in the G20 as well. Let's think about it. If you have China, India, you have a billions of population in there. So by population is 1/3, and the economically, their economic output. If you look at it if you measure it by globally, 80% of the global output is in the G20s. And then when it comes to trade and commerce, they did all the exports and imports, and then all the import around the world. 75% of the world's import is flowing to and from G20. So that's how the important they have definitionally. So if you look at it as an institution infrastructure, G20 is mainly about economic, it's about the finance, and that is also to deal with the financial crises, to prevent the country from going into the financial crisis. And that's the nature of it. But however, it is also related to the politics as well. It also has play into the political it will also play into the political influence. So the main objectives of the G20 is to ensure stability, financial stability in the international community, and that after the 1998 world economic crisis, and that there has until 2008 there has been several financial crises, and that so to prevent that as well, and then to respond to the global pandemic, and that so to respond to the world, to the global major issues related to global economy, such as international financial stability, climate change mitigations, and coordinate also financial policy as well. Where you have like EU, and they have a formal, and that it is not a UN or it's not EU, it's a formal institution, it's an informal platform, and that's also we need to understand. So when you say what is G20 and why is G20 important, that's what I do share for our ministry, that for the NUG government, G20 is important for us. Why is it important? And to your question, how do we see G20, our perspective? So I would also like to explain that as well, that as I said before, G20 they had a lot of political leverage and political weight, although they are an economic forum. And from this G20 forum, there's some of the political pressures as well as on the leverage can lead Lord to that as well. So that it will also, if they have focus on Myanmar, then it can also recapture international attention on Myanmar crisis as well. And that's why this engagement is important for the G20. So for the national unity government and the G20, we cannot neglect G20. G20s will take place and we do our work. No, G20 is important for being able to promote our cause, as well as that it is important to engage with the leadership of the G20. It is important also to do work with the advocacy organizations and many organizations around the world to give the same message, to have the same voice, to give to the G20 leadership and G20 country as well. If you will go back on the role of the G20, this is also important to look at who is hosting the G20 summit. G20 summit is will be hosted by India. I think I'm sure Salai, Dokhar and others will talk about India, more about it. India this year has the presidency of the G20. So that is the important role that India is playing, and we need to revisit that, because India it has some and India has important reflection about Myanmar. What they consider what the most important point for India is border security, especially the northeast area of India is touches Myanmar border. These are the areas because of the many reasons. We have a lot of political instability. There is also communal conflict in the northeast areas of India, and that one there and also that so there are also that some there are also some projects that India wants to build infrastructure projects which were beneficial to both countries. There are also many projects for the development of the northeast region too, and these development projects are also part of the Indian consideration of Myanmar too. Another important point is that from New Delhi, when it comes to Myanmar, the way they reflect on Myanmar is that they also look at the national security, they look at the economic security, they also look at infrastructure, and they engage with the military because they have concerns that they said that if there are problems, then they need and that they need authority to be able to help address this issue and the crisis as well, and that's their consideration for them as well. So that and that they also it is also important on a platform like a G20 to in a way to recalibrate and realign the Indian government is also thinking about the Myanmar issue as well. So if we have a sorry, I'm like now we are talking about there is already a space like that, and that we also have the other countries like UK and EU can also give guidance to India, and so the India will be right back on the track of supporting the democracy as well. India has objectives. India has its objectives. India also have purposes as well that they want to form like a brick that brick is like where you have the Bangladesh, Russia, and then that India and China. So they have the brick countries as well, emerging economies. They also want to connect with the East and the West as well. So we have often you have so the global south they consider themselves as a leader of the global south. They want to have this kind of image as well. They want to be a strong democratic country in the Pacific area. That is India goal too. We need to understand India goals, India reasoning as well, that India wants to be a leader not only economically, financially, but also as a power politically as well. So that there is also the power, there is a competition with the India as well. So India also we also need to approach India from the perspective of how strong can it be how can be a democratic nation in this context as well. And that now that the situations are difficult and the times are tough, but how to what extent can they work on helping resolve the Myanmar issue? How can, as a good neighbor, how they can work deeply on it as well? That's why that we consider India as a G20 plus as a strength. We should be asking questions. We can be putting pressure on them as well, and that so that's why G20 is an important platform for us, and why that's why also our energy government need to consider G20 as important. I also would like to reflect on the historic as well, and that so England so Myanmar was colonized by the Great Britain as well, and that so, but these are as of colony, we have the share goals. We have the share goal and self-interest of wanting democracy as well. We need it is important that the democratic countries and our neighboring democracy needs to listen to the voice of the people, voice of as well. That so we have today we have, for example, like there has been already a designation of us SAC as a terrorist organization, right? I think it is important to understand that as well. And it's also important for the India to be able to do it. And UG also is to be to make sure that their proposal, their policy, their perspective, their findings are engaged with the reflect and replicate reality as well. For example, like I would also like to say that heroic acts of East Timor, for example, like Timor-Leste has stood strongly, although they are a small country, but they stood briefly as a hero for the democracy for Myanmar as well. So that is interesting to reflect on that as well. India is an old democracy. We can even call it the grandfather democracy. Then as a grandfather democracy and old democracy, where they stand for the emerging democracy like Myanmar as well. So these are the questions we should be asking as well. It is important for our other democratic countries will need to push forward on that, and then that encourage India to do that as well, to this year, India will be hosting G20 because they have the presidencies. I'm sure that Russia will not be attending, and that as well as and then Chinese President Xi Jinping will not be attending. But however, Chinese Prime Minister will be attending as well, and that so that between when it comes to the China and India, geographically speaking, Myanmar is right between India and China. I think in the Myanmar crisis also, Myanmar is right stuck between the Chinese and the India interests as well. So metaphorically speaking, geographically speaking, and from the perspective of the interest, we are quite stagnated. So in this Indian hosted G20 summit, I think definitely they cannot neglect or left Myanmar crisis behind. They will definitely have to discuss because that is something of their shared interest as well. Another point I would like to say is that when it comes to the global platforms, the global forum like UN or that ASEAN bloc or that EU, some of the Myanmar issues are stuck. We're not moving. Sometimes it's even backpedaling. So on those issues, we need to realign. We need to in a way to bring focus on the important issue as well. For example, like like global unsparkle that cannot move ahead. We should also be raising this point and then pushing hard for that as well. And then so the G20 in India that is I think that there will also be that we can also have the countries which are sympathetic to Myanmar can participate in that as well, and that country like UK or the EU can take the leadership and convince India to take the right position or the right stand. And these are the reasons why G20 is important and what we want to see in the G20. So that is something I'm trying to imagine, and these are the questions we should be asking as well. Thank you. Thank you for a very comprehensive answer as well. That G20 is a platform of about 20 industrially developed countries, and that they are, as you said, that they represent 70% of the 30% of the world population and 75% in terms of GDP or the world import as well. And G20 as the G20 can also bring interest and focus on the Myanmar crisis, and that they also have the leverage to push on the Myanmar issue. So thank you for sharing that, and also we also share about the India perspective as well, and that it is that and that and that also that India also is engaging with the other as well. That you also ask about important points. You asked about the democratic standards and democratic values of India. Thank you for the important points that you have made. Now, I would like to invite Nant. She is participating as a guest speaker, and she has sent us the video message. So we'll be sharing the video message with you. Thank you very much.
Minglawa to all of you. I am very glad that I have this opportunity to talk to all of you. It is the time that it is very critical for Myanmar. The military junta are struggling for their survival. The public, the democratic revolutionary forces, the ethnic forces, all the political forces are having all the struggles and movement to get rid of military dictatorship. The international community role is very critical in this dynamic. For UK Burma campaign, we are now having all sort of campaign in order to have much stronger contribution in this revolution for its success. The G20 should be seen as the opportunity for Myanmar revolution. So we are now engaging our campaign and movement around G20. G20 meeting, it's going to be held in India. So we are engaging with this G20 meeting in India. And Indian policy towards Myanmar revolution is very, very weak. The India support more towards the military. So we need to pressure the Indian leader through the leader of G20 so that the public, the ethnic, the democratic, and the revolutionary forces are now trying to um, persuade India to support the revolution. We are calling 4 points. First, the arm embargo. The Indian should stop selling military equipment, weapon to Myanmar military. So this all has to stop. This is what we are asking for. And we have a second point for our call. The Indian company must stop working with the military for their business relations. The third call that we have is to stop the diplomatic relationship between Indian military and Myanmar military. The fourth point that we are calling for is to stand. Uh, uh, the fourth point that we call in India, it's to stand together with NUG and the revolutionary forces, together with Myanmar public, along with the support to the Myanmar refugee in India-Myanmar border. What we know is that Myanmar as a whole, it's in big trouble for whole public, for ethnic community, for revolutionary forces are now committing in the struggle to get rid of military dictatorship, and we are still trying, and we will continue in this struggle to get rid of military dictatorship as Burma Campaign UK. Thank you. Thank you very much. Although the audio it's a bit soft, we realize there are 4 points that Burma Campaign UK is calling for. First, it's to stop arm embargo by India. Second, to stop doing business with military dictatorship. And third, it's to stop diplomatic relationship between the Indian military and the Myanmar military. And the fourth point is to support the revolution. Now, I would like to invite Salai Dokhar. I have a question to you. What is significant about regarding this G20 meeting that will be held in India? What kind of opportunities would be there for Myanmar? Thank you. As the deputy minister mentioned that G20 is the forum of 80% of the world economy, 75% of imports of global imports. It's into G20 member country. There are two-thirds of world population in G20. And now I would like to talk about the role of India. India, it's now competing its foreign policy with China. Myanmar is used as its weapon. India has this look forward to the east policy. So if there would not be no coup d'etat in Myanmar, this G20 in India, that will be held would be quite a quite a quite an exceptional meeting for Myanmar to show itself as the world opportunity for the economy, but it is not the case now. And now the question is how much G20 would be able to influence India in order to have its support to Myanmar revolution. And but then again, talking about what would be the significance of this meeting, well, Russia will not be there, China president will not be there, um, and and looking at the relationship between India and China, it's having the dispute over their territory. But then again, I have the impression that the G20 might also be used by India as its instrument in order to have its stronger voice in this particular case. And India, it's at its fifth place um, in the world among the world country in terms of economy, in terms of its foreign influence. So what I think that India will make it much will take this G20 opportunity really to boost itself to be in much higher place. It, China will not like it, so that's why it might be very possible that that the that this is the reason that the Chinese president will not attend this meeting. So this is quite a significant. The political dispute, or if I may say, the territory dispute between the two countries, it's one of the reasons that India tried to host this meeting, and whereas the Chinese president, will not attend to this meeting. But anyway, Myanmar issue should be one of the agenda of this G20. As the deputy minister mentioned that EU or the US uh, should put Myanmar issue as an agenda. Only then they will discuss about it. In UN, for example, the China, the Russia holding veto always reject Myanmar issue to have all sort of resolution. But G20, we should see much more opportunity not to be rejected in discussing Myanmar agenda. Well, what I'm trying to say is that having this G20, um, we need to pressure India to change its mind regarding this revolution. In the revolution, we have Magui, Chin, Zagain, Magui are the strongest places in terms of the armed conflict in armed struggle in this revolution. So in for them, India is the closest foreign territory. So in order to have the humanitarian assistance, the accessibility for India is the only solution if they allow to provide this kind of, humanitarian support. And the thing is that even if a particular country would want to support us material, then we need to have a good neighboring country that will allow to open their border as well. So what I'm trying to say is that India is very critical in order for us in this revolution. But India, it's very much looking only for their interests. So they do not think about the human right value, democratic norms and principles. And for India, for Myanmar, we make all sort of observation according to this. The their diplomatic relationship status towards SAC, it's downgraded. But on the other hand, they are supporting the military. So what this means is that they can turn their eyes um, uh, 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 shut in order to have their own interest improve. So basically, they are trying to work together with military for their own interests. So we really need to highlight India about this. And this G20 would be one of the opportunity for our steps to highlight India. India might seem that they may have their interests improved with this military regime for a short while. But for a long run, they will not have a good reputation. They will not have a good direction for their future as well. And India will have its interest tarnished if they keep on supporting the military. So all the revolutionary forces should join their hand together in order to convince India to support this revolution. And another thing that I would like to talk about is that when it comes to the our revolutionary forces, we have our voices very much louder regarding China, regarding Russia, but we need to have this kind of a louder and stronger voice regarding the role of India. And we also need to uh, 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 make sure that G20 really talk about Myanmar issue. There are many authoritarian government as the member of G20, but nevertheless, Myanmar revolution is not only about the domestic issue. Myanmar issue is the issue between the democracy forces and the authoritarian, the dictatorship. And India, what happened is that they supply weapon to Myanmar military, and as a result of it, there are all sort of casualties for the democratic supporters. So uh, the SAC is now conducting all sort of atrocities with the support of the authoritarians around the world. So, talking about India, India face all sort of um, implication as a spillover effect of a coup d'etat. The drug traffickings, etc., etc., are happening in India as well. So India, being a democratic country, they really need to realize what they are doing with Myanmar. And for us, we have struggle inside India. We are pressured by the um, Indian investigation unit and Indian Ministry of Home Affairs as well. So what I'm trying to say is that India really should have open eyes and open mind to listen to all of us, rather than shutting their eyes on this revolution and but dealing only with the military. And for us, as the revolutionary forces, we should not be discouraged, and we should hand we should hold our hands together. And in Africa, for example, there are more countries staging coup d'etat, and we did not talk about them that much. So we really need to stand in solidarity with the people of these countries as well. And Myanmar issue uh, might not be um, might not be well aware of people of our neighboring countries as well. I got arrested in India one time. The official who arrested me um, did not know Myanmar, and I told them that I was from Myanmar, and they did not know about our country. So what I'm trying to say is that we need to walk a lot. How? We need to have systematic approach. We need to have a strategic approach in dealing with our neighboring country. There are many weaknesses that we can improve in order in the relationship with dealing with the other neighboring country, including the room of improvement for NUG's relationship to our neighboring country and other revolutionary forces as well. Thank you. Thank you. You mentioned about that. This G20 can be seen as quite an opportunity for Myanmar business development if the coup d'etat would not happen. But it was not the case. But then again, we can see that Myanmar issue can be one of the agenda if one of the top country of the G20 member might submit as the agenda for the upcoming meeting as well. And you also mentioned that we need to make several calls regarding the border accessibility from our side into India as well for the humanitarian support. And
India ဘက်နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးရင်တော့တိတ်ပြီးတော့ဟိုမပြောကြဘူးပေါ့နော်ဒီတရုတ်တို့ဒီ
one of the point that you mentioned is that we need to have much more coordinated and stronger voices towards India by our revolutionary forces. And you also mentioned that everyone, including the NUG, need to have a systematic and strategic approach in dealing with India to understand more about Myanmar issue. Next, I would like to invite Nyein Minglawa to you. Minglawa, I have a question for you. Germany is one of the member of G20. You you base in Germany in order to advocate about Myanmar issues, and you might observe about the European country uh, uh, impression towards Myanmar revolution. So I just would like to understand how Myanmar revolution is seen by the European country, and what it's a role of Germany as part of G20 um, uh, 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 would have Myanmar, what would be its perspective on Myanmar? Thank you. I would like to talk about Myanmar and Germany relationship. Germany influence in Myanmar revolution and in European Union, it's quite big. So let's talk about the role of Germany. Germany is the biggest partner in EU. And now let's talk about the Indo-Pacific perspective. The In order to reduce Chinese influence, in order to protect Chinese influence to Indo-Pacific, they have political strategy, and the Indo-Pacific is seen as a strategic place for them as well. And within Indo-Pacific, the role of India, it's very important for the EU as well in order to reduce the Chinese influence. And now talking about India-Germany relationship, so they have high-level exchange among government once every other year. The EU, the American um, will need to talk about Myanmar in order to discuss as an agenda in G20, so which can be seen as an opportunity to make India change its mind through this top country, including Germany. So before G20 meeting and after G20 meeting is concluded, and even before next G20 meeting, after this one, we really need to uh, remind Germany to talk about Myanmar issue. The world has all sort of issues. The Every country has all sort of its own problem, and the world countries are having issue with another countries as well. So what happened is that Myanmar issue might be easily forgotten. So Myanmar is very important. Why? This message needs to be given to Germany, and Germany needs to be reminded about it from time to time. Another thing that I would like to talk about is the geopolitics. Myanmar is seen as very important in the geopolitics of the region. So that's why we need to advocate about Myanmar. So whenever we talked about uh, other country, if they don't know about Myanmar, we use this phrases that, well, the country between India and China. This is our stereotype of expression of where about this country if someone does not know about this country. Just to say, in this revolution, we need to change the narrative that this is the country that democracy forces are having struggle to get rid of the military dictatorship. Now we are talking about values, and both India and Germany have the parliamentary government system, and they are very proud that they are federation, practicing federalism. So India is now um, taking care of their own interests, and and in order to paramount their interest, they undermine their own value, their own democratic value, we need to highlight about it. Whenever we talked about Myanmar geopolitics, we only talked about China, we only talked about Russia. We do not talk much about India because we take granted that for the fact that India is a democratic country. But in terms of the practices, it is telling otherwise, a different story. And now, the European perspective towards Myanmar for EU Parliament, for EU member countries, what we can say is that there are sanctions against the SAC, the individual, the entities. So there are 7 times that the sanctions has been imposed. After each time of sanction, they became more and more strategic and targeted regarding the sanction that they impose from one time to another. And whenever we advocate about this sanction to the European stakeholders, we advise them and we tell them that they are impactful and they are much more strategic. And now, what do we want for our future? Do we want to talk about Myanmar issue all the time? Or do we want to be much more effective and efficient and strategic? So this is something that we need to cook internally among ourselves first. Another thing that I would like to talk about is that the role of the EU. The role of EU, uh, 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 it's very much um, critical and impactful for not having SAC diplomatic representation in the international community. That was quite a success of our advocacy, our lobby. So in the diplomatic front, the SAC has no place. So for the civil society organization, we must not take it granted, and we must not uh, 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 let it be as such. We always need to monitor about the international stage, and if there is no, I mean, if there would be any sort of SAC participation in international community, we must address it, we must highlight it, and we must stop it. So we constantly need to be cautious about it. And now, role of India. India is trying to counteract the influence of China. So in Indo-Pacific region, Southeast Asia region can be seen as a new strategy place. Around earlier 2023, the EU, the EU Parliament, the Germany pay quite a frequent visits to Southeast Asian country. They talk people around there. So this is very much important to observe that India, EU, Germany definitely see the importance of the Indo-Pacific region, Southeast Asia region for their geopolitical interests. So this is all I would like to say for this first question. Thank you.
သွားတယ်ဗောနော်ဒါ EU
You talked about the relationship between the India and Germany. Germany, India um, have quite a lot of business relationship. You talked about the geopolitics to counteract the Chinese influence in this region as well. And you also remind us about that. We have to have a very strategic advocacy about Myanmar issues so that Myanmar will not be forgotten by the international community. And the Indian policy, it's not very favorable for the Myanmar revolution. That is what we've learned as well. And you also talked about there are seven times sanctions already by European Union, and and these sanctions are getting much getting more and more effective and efficient from time to time, and the EU play a very important role not to let SAC in the diplomatic front, so which is already quite a success as well. Thank you. Now I would like to invite Salai Doka again. Minglawa to you. I would like to ask you one question. Indian Modi government, it's now supporting the SAC in the in terms of politics, economic, and military tie in order to promote their own interests. So, India for Myanmar, your organization, issue the report about the projects, Indian projects together with India. So, why we really need to tell India that they need to be serious about Myanmar democratic issue. Why? Thank you.
တလို့ကျွန်တော်တို့တော်လှန်ရေးအင်အားစုတွေအနေနဲ့တန်တမာရေးမှာဘယ်လိုခြေဖမ်းဖမ်းသိမ့်လဲဆိုတဲ့ဟာကိုကျွန်တော်တို့တွေ့ကြုံ
So
တယ်
without going into details, I would also like to discuss what Sema Nyein also has shared about how important it is to keep reminding about our struggle for democracy. Before the coup, if we look at the first 5-year terms under the NLD government, if we look at it, the way that Indian top leadership, how if you engage with Myanmar, because they had 11 times, they had 11 times engagement with Myanmar, including the phone calls as well, that, that these are the top leadership engagement. So that after the SAC SAC has conducted the coup, that in the past, now we are now nearly 3 years now, 2 to 3 years now, based on our research, that for the past 30 months, which is 2.5 years, during the time that the India senior officials only have engaged with Myanmar 10 times, senior officials. So that if you look at it, in the past 5 years of NLD government, they have 10, 11 times with the leadership engagement with the military. In the 30 months, they have already had 30 times, 10 times already. So although they are trying to tone down the democratic engagement, they have already reduced it, but in reality, they are engaging more with the SAC as well. If you look at it, we even have in September, last year, there's a meeting with them as well, and that they are also in building the momentum of diplomatic relations with the SAC too. So that what I want to say is that and that it is also that that it is maybe they, I don't know, maybe that they are maybe they are not being careful about it, but I think this is what we are seeing as well. If we look at it, drug trafficking, so that then again, they give the reason of to stop the drug trafficking. They're also engaging with the military, and also they engage with the military to build that Myanmar Thai India. They want to build a 3-country multilateral highway road as well. And on this the highway road, India, some of the India organizations are also meeting the military. So these are the steps that India has taken in a way. India has stepped up its engagement as well. I think that we should not only engage with the India, we should be asking us, but and we should also ask the question to NUG too. NUGC says that they have two that representatives. However, why is that is that one is India engaging with SAC? That's something we should also ask NUG question as well if they're engaging with that. So there are many questions when it comes to Myanmar India relationship. So sometimes India is engaging directly with the PDF. That also is something highly questionable as well. We don't know how NUG India is doing it as well. That what they stand is how is India engaging with the NUG? That is we can already draw a conclusion from that as well. That and they although India seems to be have they have toned down on the diplomatic engagement of the military, but if you say in the 30 months that their engagement is already 10 times, which is the same as the number of times they have engaged with the first civilian government for the first 5 years as well. So that and then in the end, they also either online or on their Facebook or that and that they there are also things that they are also saying it as well, and that in the India that we also have so that in that for example like that they are also, if we look at the India being invited to the that state affairs, we can see that the engagement is more than 30 times as well. That that has that. And when we are that that when we are organizing that they were like us, that although so for the we're commemorating the 8th of August for that commemorating the uprising, they are inviting the India to celebrate something else. So if we look at it, I think it is important that we need to remind ourselves that the way that China and India is engaging with the SAC, India is doing the same thing. So it is important to remind ourselves of that. That's what we are seeing as well. Like for example, like the embassy and that in the subcommittees, I mean, in India, there are like subcommittee meetings. They are also inviting them as well. In the VIM stack also, they are inviting the military there too. So therefore, it is important when our revolution forces voices out as well. We always target UN, we always target ASEAN, but we often, and if we look at the BIMSTEC, we are not targeting BIMSTEC so much. BIMSTEC is important that our voice did not reach as well. In the BIMSTEC conference, that in the India invited the military to the BIMSTEC conference as well. That that is giving legitimacy to the military as well. So if we look at it, I think it is important. We need to speak louder, because that is giving them diplomatic legitimacy to the military. So if India keeps all what India has been doing, and that I think India do it based on assessing the capacities as well, because that NUG when in India, the fact that the India only allowed to have a confidential level kind of representative in India, we realized that as well, that that and then SAC, and there was a when we distribute these cartoons, that is satirical cartoons about Modi engaged with the military. They said that and that that it is important that we should need to think about the situation, but they will also look at the situation, and before they decide, before they want to have the intelligence, and then I think that only then they will decide to engage. The person who was asked to do that analysis was somebody I know, so we engaged with them. We said we need support for the people. We told them as well right now that so I think it is important too. So I engage with them. I try to do that behind the scene, so that there will be India. But after 6 months later, that that NUG established the office, and once they represent the office, we also inform as well. But in the 6 months of the India's assessing them as well, that I think it is important. NUG, we also tell the NUG should also be looking into what we are doing, what they are saying, the advocacy we are doing, and the NUG did not. So it was like NUG did not care about us as well. We are given a very good assessment analysis. They should also look into it, but in that they didn't take into consideration. So it was all for nothing as well. The NUG, that when the NUG wants to engage with it as well, that in 2023, that the India, instead of really engage with the NUG, they have stepped up in engaging with the military hunter as well. That I think that that the way that they have, I think it is important to have suspicions. What's India, doing? What did India did that in purpose by, trying to, to stop stop NUG from, engaging with them as well. And then we need to disclose it. We need to call them out on this as well. That what is important is it is important to assess that situation. It's important to say what it is. Well, that NUG foreign minister and that Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the minister and the Ministry of Defense, they may have some engagement with the China, but they are not, it's not reaching the top. It's not reaching the top leadership as well. That the military and the diplomatic engagements are important. It's essential for Myanmar. It doesn't matter however diplomatic engagement is going. There to also be military engagement as well. That that it is important so because if they are looking down on us, if they're looking down on the military situation of Myanmar, they will not engage with us diplomatically as well. It is also important to have a voice. It is important to speak up. If you look at Japan and Korea, that I think they have embassies. They also invite the representatives to attend the state level functions. That's important as well. That also, but that the military having embassies and they are being attended and they are using it as a weapon. I think it is important to give the message to the international community as well that okay, in the ASEAN summits they cannot attend it, but not only in the summit. It was only not in the summit as well. They have a floor. They have the subcommittees and they have other lower level events where they have access to, and I think they are able to give the message they want to give to the ASEAN as well. And that's something we are doing around as well. I think it is important to be that when you do the diplomatic approach, I think it is important to take all these into consideration too. And every country that that our revolution is like really going well, and that is not that, and that we are also making breakthroughs, and that like major steps in the diplomatic engagement as well. If we can, I think we go to a careful steady analysis of diplomatic approaches and the countries, which countries have a good intention and engage with them, approach with them. I think that diplomatic diplomatic engagement will be very good for us. So it is, that's why also we are doing we are doing that as well, that we are engaging on how far is India engaging with the SAC. That's why we have done our research, and that's why we'll be publishing our report as well. And then this report will also be able to use with to put pressure on India too. But of course, there will also be security reasons we have to be concerned about as well. And that right now, I think we are preparing for the future too. We need India to become a good allies, and that I think it is important that right now we also it's also important to be able to shape a situation where we'll be able to really select who will be good neighbors, who will be good for us and good for us with the long term in the future too. Because I think it is important that we have also to remind them that people are keeping an eye on you, and that people are keeping a close eye on the as well. So it is important for the revolutionary forces or the NUG. I think we need to engage with each other to be there as well. Whenever I get an opportunity to engage with NUG, I usually remind them of that as well. So here I would also like to say that once again as well, that and NUG diplomatic approach, those ministries who are ministries who are in charge of the diplomatic engagement or international engagement. It is important to talk to our civil organization. It is important to talk to us. It is important to listen to us and what we have to say as well. That whenever we organize engagement, what we notice is that we always ask them question. We need you to have they always ask, what is your clear demand from us? So they always say that you need to have a clear demand as well as on the clear compromise as well, and that it is important to have a clear message of, okay, this is what we want, this is what we need as well. Like as others have said before, that I think when we make it, we have to have a very clear points and that you need to make, and then we have to remind them also this is what we want India to do. For example, like us, India may say that 4 points that we should ask for India. Yeah, these are also some of the points we always make to India as well. And NUG also should ask for the same thing. It doesn't matter which enver that revolutionary organization. They made a force that we always say that, so we have to say the key message, and we have to make the same demands from the India that, it is the right time for Myanmar to find the good friends, the real friends for the future of the democratic relations of Myanmar as well. And sometimes that, that some of the action we take, I would say, so there's some of our success, and that I think it is important to share not only with the people of Myanmar, even more importantly to the international community as well. So these are the weaknesses. I think we hope that these weaknesses can be addressed, and that so that we'll have that will be able to improve that, and then even improve further international engagement and communication as well. I think it is important to learn from the experiences and lesson learned from the international advisory groups and the approaches that we have here. I think it is important for NUG to pile them, to stockpile them and use them, so that and also NUG also need to have a clear message and clear demands to their countries that we are going to. So we need a clear goals, clear vision, clear what you want to do. Even if you cannot give us everything, at least we have to say, okay, these are what demands that will be made, so that to engage with them, coordinate with them, so that we'll be able to have make the approach and also to advocate for diplomatic engagement in a more coordinated manner. Thank you for very comprehensive discussions, and also it also has so India for Myanmar also have the intention to disclose the real report publicly as well, and that you also have reminded us that India has been engaging with the SAC, and that since the coup, that India has engaged like 10 times in the past 30 months, and that India focused on their own interests. For example, like they are building the three country that highway road. They are also engaging not only with the SAC, they are also engaging directly with the PDF for their interests too. And that in addition to that, that the way India has been engaging with the that military ambassadors in a form of way of giving them space and platform for propaganda, as well as giving indirectly legitimacy, lending legitimacy indirectly to the military as well. And that and you also have reminded that it is important for the NUG to have a very clear position of engagement with the neighboring country as well. It is important to also establish your clear demands too. So thank you for all the valid points that you have made. Now, I would like to turn back to Sia David Kwong. Minglaba once again, Minglaba to you too. So my question is that in the Spring Revolution, international government is working hard on the international relations too as well. So what is the message of NUG to the G20 countries? How will the NUG be giving the messages to them as well? And that so before I answer your question, I also would like to respond to that what Salai Dokhar said. Well, these are also important points, and these, as you also have made a valid point as well. I think it is also important for the national unity government to give more attention, and we need to listen to more about as well. And that, and we also not only to listen to them, we also need to respond to them as well. So thank you for making the important points. We also need to respond to them as well. This kind of by organizing to such today talk show, I think there will be sometimes some of the topics might be difficult to say directly, but we could discuss those important difficult topics, so that we can engage with each other, so that between the NUG government and advocacy groups like Nyein or SIA, so that we'll be able to build a mutual understanding and to be also able to do that as well. So I think it is by pointing out the weaknesses and what are the missing points, or what is what needs to be done. I think it is really good, so that we can improve upon that as well. So I would like to say thank you to both Nyein and Salai Dokhar for that as well. So I also like to share that as well. In the Salai has some of the points that Salai has said is already covered. So it is important for the national unity government that as a ministries, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as well as the Ministry of International Cooperation, that's a Ministry of Ministry of Human Rights also is engaged with the international community. There are also other ministries which engage with them as well. well. So I think we always try to, based on the issue or based on the matter, based on the sector as well, we always try to promote our engagement with international community, along with the India as well, that for the security reason, I will not be able to, I do not have the right to share, but for example, like for that NUG, so for example, like India Representative Office, which are under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the National Unity Government, they have an office in the India as well. However, that and also we also have although we are not the federal government, they engage with the state level government as well, who's when they navigate, and I think they have to be very careful and subtle in navigating the relationship with not even the daily government, but also with the state government too. As we also know that in neighboring countries like Thailand, and also as well as on the that we also have the that so different diplomatic levels. We also engage with the with different levels of the mission from the India at the different levels too as well. That we have to, they also they engage with us as well, and then there is some of the issues they will come to us, and that sometimes we can also share information and discuss with our different counterparts, the different levels of the Indian diplomatic corps as well. But then we don't have a when it comes to institutionalized kind of channel of engagement, the India, it can be difficult. That's why when they go and talk to the PDF, then sometimes that these are the way they have engaged is not in line with the proper diplomatic channels of engagement. So this is also one of the challenges of the revolution as well, that for us is we need to only to improve what already exists as well. There are needs as well as, and that for example, like if you look at the report that you have been shared, I think they should not end there, but they should be the points that you have raised. I think should goes into the formulae for the policies that we'll be formulating as well, and that this can also be we also need to use them practically and pragmatically so that we can pave the way forward for in terms of promoting Indian relations as well. To respond to your question for the G20, that the message from the energy government is that we are also engaging with that. This is not just for the G20 countries. This is also the message we give to that international community when it comes to Myanmar crisis. I think it is important for the world, and that it is important for us to be able to that it is important to say that it's other international communities hiding behind the ASEAN centrality, and we also need to highlight, okay, these are the gaps of what is missing when it comes to ASEAN leadership and ASEAN centrality. I think it is important for G20, especially that under the India presidency, we also be raising the issue where this is the area you need to engage with as well, also like including countries like against China as well. Second point is that the G20 is industrially developed countries. So this is it's a platform of the international leaders coming from the first world countries and that as well. So they talk about the economic stability, to ensure the financial stability, so they talk about the climate change. I think India is that we are also that as you know that so that we have to raise the issue that we don't have human rights. People of Myanmar are being facing the oppression. They are also facing human rights violations, and these are the truth, and that this is happening on a daily basis. So we need the top leadership to know about that as well, that the crisis in Myanmar, the suffering of the people of Myanmar is more than just that of a domestic issue, and that we also have to give the message that it's important for not only for the region but also for the world too. So I think Myanmar issue should be an important issue on the agenda of the G20. Of course, India government will want to skip it over, but we will need to push like-minded countries, moderate countries, to put Myanmar issue on the agenda for it as well. And that the fourth point we'd like to make is that we have been saying that that we are having engaging with the international platforms, with the human rights institution, that Myanmar, that we have always been asking for the arms embargo on a global level as well, that so that there are sometimes that we need to have countries to sponsor this and this, and do, but we don't have that. We also have the challenge as well. It is important to engage with other countries to support it, to support Sambago as well. So we also need to think about the strategy. In the strategy of getting the global Sambago G20 will be important as well to engage with this one. And Siama has said before, there are also economic sessions as well. That, for example, like EU already have a 7 rounds of session. There were going to be 8 rounds of economic sessions as well. That it is also important that the countries should not be doing the sessions out of its own. There should be more effective sessions through the coordinated efforts between different countries as well, and that it is also important to that we also we have already shown the evidence as like that, for example, we say that do not provide dual use technology to the military, and also not to sell like the spare parts or military equipment as well, and that there are private individuals or the companies, private individuals or companies which are importing such dual use and the military spare parts. We need more systematically move in a coordinated manner to call for sanctions against such entities and companies as well. In particular, we need to advocate EU for that as well. Not only the weapons that there are also the way that the military has been harming our civilians is through the airstrike as well. So to stop the airstrike, we also need to ensure that we have enforceable sanctions which can also stop the military from having access to jet aviation fuel, so that they can continue more bombing and more killing. So these are the important topics we need to rally for in the G20 countries. I think it's also important, like someone said, not just to talk about Myanmar, but to talk about Myanmar effectively. So these are the issues that our countries, right? Humanitarian assistance is important for Myanmar, and the India can help a lot with the cross-border assistance. So that I think it is important. This is also, we need to talk with India so that we can find a way to find a solution to provide assistance as well. So in addition to the 4 points, and that these 5 points will be important, and not just for the NUG, that these are the important messages we need to give all to the population as well, that maybe we come from the different background, that we all are, we also have the common objective of the common goal of as well. So in terms of message, these points will also be that this all will be, so these are the points we need to put in. So thank you for your attention. Thank you for NUG. Thank you for sharing about what the NUG is doing. You also you remind us about that only just one ministry engaging with them as well, and that thank you also for the point as well. And now I would like to give the floor back to Siama Nyein. So my question to you, Siama, is that so, there has been a lot of international support for Ukraine crisis, but they seems to be ignoring Myanmar. They seem to be forgetting Myanmar. So that, to get international attention and to gain international support. So in the international fora, like the G20, what should be what should be the narrative, or what should we be asking for the international community? How should we prepare for that? So when it comes to Myanmar issue, and that I think whenever we talk about international assistance, and that we always think about Ukraine, and we also talk about international community providing arms and ammunitions, and they always ask that why is not international community giving weapons to Myanmar as well. They always ask this question. But if we study that what happened is Ukraine, the war is Ukraine, the nature of it, and that geographical location of the Ukraine, we need to take into consideration that too, that the Ukraine was invaded by Russia, a sovereign nation by it as well. that that we also need to look at also what are the implications of Russian invasion of Ukraine as well. When we say that you know, that there are many points that our revolutionary forces write about it as well. You know, that if even if they give like what percentage of assistance to the people of Myanmar, and you know how our revolution will be successful, and also that things like that as well. So that, and when Sia David and Sia Dokhar have already made a very comprehensive points about it, but here I would just like to highlight one point, and that we that when we say weapon, when we, instead of asking for weapons or the ammunition, I think our approach should be a compromise. You know, we have to give a compromise. It's always about give and take as well. So, okay, it will be that you, of course, national unity government will be key to this engagement as well. And therefore, the national unity government will, as a national government, I mean, the civil society organization, will have to say that, okay, by assisting in Myanmar, then they have to say that what will if the countries help Myanmar, what will be the results? What do they get in return? And this is something we need to talk to them. Okay, if you help us, this is what you will get. We need to make it very clear, because Myanmar political crisis is almost now it's over 2 years and nearly 3 years of a political struggle as well. That you know, the policy maker, the decision makers, in their mind, their interest is also seems to be going down, because you know that it's been taking too long. It's a long way. Though around the world, there are also many problems too. And if they started to lose interest, then if we started losing attention, then in such a context, in such a situation, I think it is important to say that our people, that how, you know, how our people are suffering, how we are fighting the revolution, you know, how our revolution is winning, and that we also need to strategically, we need to communicate and share that as well. We need to be coordinated matter to give the message to the international governments and international organizations. We need to present that in a way. It's high time we have to do that, because you know, every day we do that. Every day we go and talk to them. You know, this is what the people, this is happening. Not, and we usually say what is happening in Myanmar, but it's more than that. We have to go. We have to have an approach which goes more than what is happening in Myanmar. We need to be strategic as well. So strategy is important. Engagement strategy is important. We also need to think about, okay, so what do we do after the revolution? We need to think, and we need to explain to them what we are doing beyond the revolution as well, and that the most important Rohingya crisis is an important point as well for the return of the refugees, resettlement of refugees. I think the national government has, they said they have a strategy. What are these strategies? And what have you been doing to prepare for that? I think it is important to share with them. When we talk about the international community, we have very limited time to talk about Myanmar, so we have to be strategic. We have to use the time. We have like 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and we have to be able to. We cannot just talk about we cannot just be crying and they say crying in tears and say that, oh, we are suffering, we are suffering. No, we need to more so that we are resilient. We are thinking ahead. We are also, this is what we want. This is what we mean by the future federal union. We have to be very clear in communicating that. Only then the countries which wants to help us, they will see, oh, we are doing that. Our help will not, you know, just be wasted. It will be good. So I would like to give you a short example as well. One Ukraine, that you know, many countries give Ukraine support. You know, they support with it as well. And in Germany, there's some of the civil that we exchange about that with the civil CSOs in Germany as well, by interest, as well as you know, that how we can also, you know, while we try to think about brainstorm how we can talk about it as well, that we look at you know, support for Ukraine, and then Ukraine civil society organization, and then the German German civil organization, they have very good relationship, they have good engagement as well, and also they also make sure that they will not that they also have agreement that that arms and ammunition will not be used against innocent civilian. That is through the engagement of the both German and Ukraine as well society organization as well, and that whenever they give support to the, it also strengthen their support of weapons ammunition to Ukraine as well. So for our civil society organization and so less on the national unity government, I think it is important at every level that either not only at the G2G, but also at the different levels of engagement, either through EU or for the Germany or the India, whenever we engage, I think it's so important to engage with the civil society organization is also extremely important, because Myanmar crisis is when you look at this, well, when we call it a lobby, we call it lobby is not a very nice word, but okay, if you look at the people, the activists who are lobbying for Myanmar, we don't have that. There are many organizations lobbying for Myanmar, international community. However, that is very, we don't hear them that often. We don't hear about that often. I think it is important that they can need to engage with the international the decision makers, as well as on the, we need to engage with them as well. We also need to engage with the civil society organization. We do have a strategy and approach them and engage with them, communicate with them strategically as well. But another point I would like to raise is about the give and take. As I've already said that a lot as well, because it is important that I also see a question in the chat box as well, how we can put pressure, how do we put pressure to India as well? We said that, but what we also need to know is that, if we win this revolution, then we need to know, okay, we have to tell them, okay, what kind of stability can we give to the Myanmar as well? Because some of the countries are only interested in Myanmar economically, and we have to tell them what kind of economic interest will be. If there are countries which are more, which put a lot of importance to democratic standards, for these countries will say, okay, by supporting the Myanmar democratic transition, what will be the gains? How will it support that other countries as well? Like by having democracy in Myanmar means also promoting democracy in the Southeast Asia, in the region as well. And we have to make it very systematic. And we're like Dokhar and others, like by you have to make it with the reports, analysis. We have to say that we cannot just say it, like just out of as well. We are fighting with the time. The time is not our side. The longer it takes the revolution, then the more there's more opportunity that we'll win. But we will also be taking our own shares or licks as well. So I think it is important to be strategic, and it's important to be aware of the time. So another is that what we also need is that, the most important thing is the location. So we have a common goal, we have a narrative. So what Sadokar has just said before, that, and then Nazurafan also said that as well, that the same point is asking, we are also asking that as well. I think it is important that the same points, we should, if we can, we are saying the same thing to the different organizations, and the different to the different ears. So that also, if we say the same thing, we make the same demands, and we have a unity. So the other governments will say, okay, whenever we talk to them, we hear the same demands, and say they're united, they're coordinated as well. I think communication among the democratic forces are important. That we might not be able to work everything together, but we all have a common goal. So I think this organization is working on that. Okay, then in that case, we can do something else. Then this is in line with as well. But there's a main message. Maybe we may use different words. I think we have to say that it is important for communication, so that, okay, I won't be able to put this away, but I can put it that way. So that's how it will be. Thank you.
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ဟုတ်ကဲ့ပါဆရာမကြီးပေါ့နော်ဒါဆရာမ
Thank you, Siama. So in the points that you have raised, and we have also heard that about when it comes to Ukraine, and that people always compare Myanmar issue to the Ukraine as well. I think location, geographical location of a country is important as well. When we talk about Myanmar crisis, that don't just directly asking for give us weapons or give us ammunition, is also the important thing about the give and take. What will be the compromise? By supporting Myanmar, what will they get after the revolution? And that's something we need to disclose them in a way to gain their interest. Also, you also have discussed as a way to approach the international community as well. And that and then also it is important to have a clear narrative of more than what's happening in Myanmar. It is also important to have more engagement with the civil society organizations, other democratic actors, to have a more coordinated engagement and advocacy. Thank you for the valid points that you have raised. I think all the speakers have discussed their questions. Now it's time for Q&A. So in the Q&A that we will, if you want to participate in their questions, but the question and answer session, you can join us on the webinar and raise your hand. You can also send your questions to the chat box, or to the Q&A. Will also be giving the questions, sending the questions to our speakers in the chat. So in the we have a comment in the chat that comments that it comment says that you know that about Za'ari that so in the way India has been equipping Zara fighting against as well, they are giving space from that as well, and then get there that PLU and as well as Kate for the Kate organizations. Their military is selling them weapons as well, and that are in a purposely area, so that they are giving them train and they are allowing them train as well, and then they are also encouraging these Kate groups to fight the India military as well. That I think I think it is important for the Chin people and that NUG can share that with the Indian government. That will also push that will also push the India away from the SAC. So thank you for the comment, and the comment is a very good comment. So that you know, it's important for the Indian government, although they may be engaged with as well, but at the same time, the way they are also SAC is seems to be sheltering as well as on the supporting them, giving them space to train, and that the selling ammunition, we can get information, you know, detailed information from the ground, and then share it. I think that will also be, you know, that militarily, that you know, it will be a way to push them India and that military apart militarily. So thank you for making that comment. So we also have one person who has raised their hand, Bohemian Night. So if you have questions or comments, please unmute yourself and participate.
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ကိုဟိမျက်နှာရှိသေးလားမသိဘူးခင်ဗျ
Hey Nyein, are you there?
Okay.
Well, I have the impression that the person is speaking while the microphone is muted. Well, if you're muted, please make sure your microphone is on. I'm wondering if you have any particular questions or comments. If please do so by having your microphone unmuted. Thank you.
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ကိုဟိမျက်နှာအနေနဲ့အဆင်မပြေဘူးဆိုရင်တော့ကျွန်တော်ဒီ
Well, if you are not in a position to talk to, I would like to read out a question written in English. This question is to David Awng. You highlighted about the importance of pressuring India. India is now taking care of their own interests in order to persuade in order to persuade India to support the revolution. What would be the pullback on its engagement with the illegal junta? Thank you. Well, this is quite a question. As Nyein may mentioned as well, it has been over 2 years that we talked to the international community about Myanmar, and we talked about our situation as the victim narratives. People might bored about it, but now we need to strategically present ourselves. What would be the benefit for international community if we help us in this revolution as the cost that they would pay for their benefits. So this is a very common sense to think in that direction, because we are human beings after all. And now talking about India, please help is not enough to talk to India. We need to address their interest as well. So we need to find a way that India will benefit for their interest while they help this revolution. So we need to discuss with them in this kind of direction. So India has questioned to this revolution. I understand. India, it's now facing the armed resistance on their own as well, and that is the reason that they have this a border security concern. And then there are also spillover effect, such as the refugees from Myanmar pouring into India as well. So this kind of spillover effect on the already unstable border security, it's their issues as well. So it is not good for us, and it is not good for India to manage this whole situations as well. So this is our common interest between the two countries to address them. And again, we have Zagain, Gachin, and um, we have um, Chinese area that are used for the military intelligence exchange, and as well as the military training, and all of these are contributing to the Indian border security as well. And Indian has this kind of concern. So we really need to act on this, that what we can do for this issue and what we can as the revolutionary forces to address their concern as well. India wants stability. So this should be the key message. So this key message is that due to the nature of the military will always keep this instability for their interest. So that's why it is the revolutionary forces that will keep the situation stable, so that it will help India. So this kind of message, it's what needs to be strong about. So whenever we talk about crisis, there are crises happening beyond the borders as well. And yes, India really need to have this situation addressed. So this addressing this kind of solution should be the common goal of revolutionary forces, and as well as for their Indian interest improvement. So now what I'm trying to say is that it is very important from now on that we will need to help Indian concern, and in return, India will have their hands holding together with the revolutionary forces. And we need to have assurance, we need to have guarantee provided to India in a very open manner, in a very explicit manner. Even if we cannot offer our our position to India, and India will not stand along with us, I'm sure. So, what I would say is that we need to show our capacity, we need to show our political visionary, and we need to show our roadmap. All of these are not to threaten Indian interests, but rather to promote and to protect and to enable the Indian interest. So only then we will have this kind of gravity. India will understand it. Only then I think that this situation will be improved for all of us in a very mutual way between India and us. So this is how I would like to answer to this question. Now I would like to invite Salai Dokhar to add anything into this question
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ဒီဆရာ
for your answer. Thank you. Deputy Minister David Awng mentioned quite comprehensively, but I would like to say one thing. NUG need to have opened and face-to-face meeting with Indian government, really asking what they want and what we can do for them. So this it's what is needed, and we really need to keep all the agreement militarily and as well as politically. India might have three concerns, I think. Myanmar has been influenced by China throughout all the history. It was quite a heavy influence. India want to have this kind of influence reduced by Myanmar itself. But how? It's the answer, right? And NLD was uh, when NLD was in the office, they had their uh, uh, party political party policy in dealing with China. But now we have NUG. NUG is a revolutionary government. This revolutionary government needs to have the compromises, the give and take situation, as long as all these compromises and given and taken might not undermine the interest of the ethnic community. NUG should go for it. And we have um, we have SAC, we have armed organization, even lately we have People Defense Forces, all of them has been under influence of China lately. We really need to have a very strong and explicit standpoint among all of us in dealing with China and in dealing with India. And second point, it's about these uh, Indian separationists and armed groups are there along the border area. How can they be maintained from our side? Even if we cannot maintain them, how do we deal with them? We need to have a very strong policy regarding this Indian armed separationist movement. This is the second point that we need to be very clear ourselves about. And the third, I would like to talk about this the business interest. India has business interest in Myanmar as well. There is this Kaladan um, um, economic project. They are now having this project together with SAC, and they also have transnational highway over three countries. They really want to go for it, and we really need to guarantee all of these business interests. So how much we can guarantee all of them? This is what they would like to know. And on the other hand, the military, it's probably approaching India by providing all sort of guarantee that they will maintain all of these business interests as well. So what I'm trying to say is that the energy government really need to discuss with India over this three issue in a very open and explicit manner, and then hopefully India will stand together with the revolution if the compromises or negotiation would be a success one. Well, it is a human nature that you are dealing with different people with their different approach. in relevant to what their interest. If someone is interested only for the business, you talk business, and if someone is interested in human rights, you talk human rights. If someone is interested only in threatening, you threaten them. Really. So whatever, it will not undermine our own interest, and UG should need to play a role to compromise and give and take with the counterpart, as long as it will not undermine our own interest, our public interest and our ethnic interest. Thank you. And Nyein, can you also respond to this particular question? Thank you. David and Dokhar mentioned their perspective very comprehensively. Again, we really need to be very much relevant to our counterpart that we are dealing with. Those, if someone interested in politics, you talk politics. If someone is interested in values, you talk values. But there are some common ground. The common ground, which is the political solution, is something that needs to be homegrown. It cannot be imported by external countries. So this is something that I would like to say. So people, I mean, some of the international community talked about dialogue, peaceful dialogue, and there are international community that they are playing this ping pong game regarding Myanmar issue based on this ASEAN 5-point consensus. And our revolutionary forces say no to dialogue. But then again, we need to provide our justifications of why we say no to dialogue. This is a time that we need to explain to the international community. Many of the international community are now talking about that violence is committed by both sides. I need to argue about that. The thing is that who is using airstrike? The SAC, not the revolutionary side. So already this is not a very fair game, even if in the violence form. So we really need to be critical in responding to some of the international community. So what we need to say, what we need to say is that we are not bloodthirsting forces. We are not terrorists. So that's why we cannot sit around the table with the terrorist military. So that is the reason that we cannot have this dialogue with them, right? So we need to find the common justification that we are not committing violence because we are bloodthirsting revolutionary forces. It is just that we are trying to find the common political solution. So that common political solution is to be seek through our revolutionary forces among themselves as well too. Only then international community will know what we are talking about very clearly. Thank you. Now I would like to give the floor to Mounchet who raised the hand. Please take the floor. Mounchet, if you are there, you may take the floor.
ဟုတ်ကဲ့ဟိုဒီဟိုဆရာမောင်ချင်းအနေနဲ့လည်းဒီပေါ်မှာလက်ထောက်ထား
Well, Mounchet, you raise your hand, but I have the impression that you are not there. Well, in that case, I would like to conclude our conversation for the day. David Guamao, I would like to invite you to have your closing remarks for our public. Thank you. I started today that we have this public forum, and in the public forum we have stakeholders walking on the ground, and we have this opportunity to talk with them. I take it as a invaluable moment for me to learn from you and to pass our messages to G20 members. So, with this one stone, we can say that we kill actually more than several birds. So, I would like to say that we need to thrive and we need to try our best to have a very strong and coordinated, consolidated, unified, strong messages among ourselves to the international community. So this is something that I would like to draw all of our attention. And I also would like to thanks to the organizer and to the organizations of Nyein, and I also would like to thanks to Salai Dokhar and his organization. Now I would like to give the floor to Salai Dokhar for your closing remark. And for the revolutionary forces, we are we will not do when US ask us to do. If Chinese ask us to do, we will not do what we are asked to do by this big country if they are not for our own goods. So we need to have this externally driven uh, diplomatic politics in this revolution. We will drive our direction with our own commitment and with our own goods and with our own conscience. We rely only on ourselves. We have only our public to take care of ourselves. So I would like to request, invite, welcome to everyone to participate in this revolution in every forms that you can. I thanks to the People Goal program for this conversation, and I would like to salute to each and every one of the public in this revolution. Thank you very much. Ying Jianmei, can you please bid your farewell to the public? Thank you. Public know what public wants. We know what we want our best. So we know what is our goal. People goal is what is known very well by the people. I would like to say this to the People Goal program. But there are many, many ways that we can let other know what is our people goal. That can be in the forms of petition. There can be in the forms of movement. There can they can be in the forms of struggle. They I mean we have all sort of ways to make our voices heard. Since the Myanmar people voices are so strong and so loud, I always feel very encouraged whenever I pass these voices to international community. I would like to stress one thing. It is not about the generosity. It is not about the naivety that the other people country help another country. They always calculate the cost and benefit. They always base on their rationale for making decision if they will help other country or not. We need to observe them and we need to adjust our strategy, our tactics, our approach in dealing with them. This is something that I would like to say. Thank you very much, public audience. David Guamaun, Salai Dokhar. Thank you very much, People Goal, for inviting me to be in here. And I also would like to thank to the interpreters for interpreting whatever we are speaking in here. Thank you. I would like to say thanks to all of you and dear public and speakers, questioners, commentators. We like to thank to all of you on behalf of the People Go program. So this is the end of our topic. Myanmar, the issue G20 member are to be serious about. Goodbye for now.